Hello, and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is part 8 of our intelligence run through the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Last time we went through Bonnie Village, the Church District, and the Storehouse Loft back section, whatever you want to call it, defeating Commander Gaius and the Scadutree Avatar. For items, we got the Ash of War Flame Skewer, the Bonnie Butchering Knife, a Hefty Cracked Pot, the Tooth Whip, a Great Grave Glowwort, Quilline's Greatsword, an Eye of Occultation, a sorcery that takes faith, so we cannot use it, sadly, a cookbook for gold and grease, the Iris of Grace, one of them, America's Rune, Carrion Thrusting Shield, the Fire Serpent Incantation, the Wrath from Afar Incantation, the Fire Knight Hild Spirit Ash, Remembrance of the Wild Boar Rider, several Scadutree Fragments, and Remembrance of the Shadow Sunflower. And here we are starting at the Church District High Road. Yep, that's what it's called. And we are going to make our way south-southwest. Because there is a building off this way. If you head off west and you follow the southwest path, you can get a thing, a skill, whatever they're called in this game. There we go. Weapon art, I think. I think that's what they're called in this game. And if you go around the right side, you can get a thing to duplicate a boss soul. But for now, we're just gonna head out into here, and I don't know if you can hear that. There's a lot of noises going on in the other room. Hopefully you can't. But anyways, this guy.
Well, we don't often receive visitors. I am Ymir. Welcome to Manus Metyr. It is a pleasure to have you. In lands so forsaken as these, chance encounters are precious indeed. Seeing that we have convened here on this day, allow me to mark the occasion with a modest offering. The map I gave you charts the site of a hallowed ruin. It is said that after sounding the hanging bell there, one's fate will be guided by the stars. I only wish to be of service, to help those who fight for their purpose. I'm not mistaken, am I? I can see it in your eyes. You are a fighter, are you not? Is something the matter? I've given you a map to the hallowed ruin. Oh, I suppose you expect a lesson of me, do you? I know the feeling. Those with purpose are nothing if not ravenous. For power. For truth.
So, from him you can get some sorceries. All of these you can get in the base game. Not entirely sure about Carrion Retaliation since I don't have it, but I think you can get it in the base game. But Miriam's Vanishing is definitely DLC only.
Oh yes, do mind your feet around the church. You wouldn't want to hurt the little boy.
Okay. But the Cerulean Coast cross near the very bottom of the map is where we want to head off to first. Oh, something I've heard a lot of people say, and I'm bringing this up because partially this is the sorcery run, and partially because Nightreign is coming out soon. But I've heard a lot of people say that if you're struggling with a FromSoft game, then you should go into a sorcery build, because sorcery builds are the most powerful. And they're the easiest, because you can just sit back and not have to worry about dodging or worry about high health or defense or anything like that. You can just sit back, spam your spammable spell, and win. And my first Dark Souls game I actually went with a sorcery build. And oh boy, it did not work. And the reason for that is because of what makes a Dark Souls game difficult. And what makes video games in general difficult. And I have this written down somewhere, not in front of me. But I know I wrote it down somewhere, and I had 4 points of what made things difficult. And off the top of my head, I can remember the resource availability, which means how easy is it to gain resources. There's punishment for failure, which is how much does the game punish you if you fail. Pretty self-explanatory. Then there's the knowledge requirement. There's a guy here. I was moving on autopilot. Forgot there's a guy here. It was scary when you're on horseback. But the fourth is mechanical, which is like, there he is. And yeah, he summons worm guys. Oh, the one shot, nice. But the fourth is mechanics, which is reaction time and precision. That's actually all 4. So, kind of surprised that I remembered all 4 off the top of my head, but there we go. But I would say that Soulsborne games aren't particularly mechanically difficult. Like, reaction time, the necessity for that is definitely going up quite a bit as the games went on. Crimson Seed Talisman +1. But you don't... Like, Dark Souls 1 was known for its difficulty. Dark Souls is like the difficult game. And Dark Souls is like the difficult series. If something is difficult, they'll go, oh, this is the Dark Souls of this genre. Mostly referring to the difficulty. But Dark Souls 1 doesn't require a lot of... Like, it doesn't require very good reaction time. As you can probably tell, I'm not very good with reaction time. And Dark Souls 1 is pretty easy for me at this point. I can get through the entire game, every boss, usually with no deaths at this point. So, and that's not to say that Dark Souls 1 is easy. It's to say that the main requirement, or the main point of difficulty in a Souls game, isn't the mechanics. It's not even really the punishment for failure, because you die, you drop your runes or your souls, and you can just go back and pick them up. Not that difficult. And it's not really resource availability, because I've got 2 levels on me, and I'm not even really concerned with leveling up. So you get plenty of resources. Like, I got 14 heals. Resource availability isn't that difficult, or doesn't add a lot of difficulty. The main difficulty of Dark Souls comes from the knowledge requirement. And we can talk to these. Actually, we can go over here so that way I can keep explaining this without being interrupted by dialogue. But yeah, out of those 4, where is it here? Out of those 4 determiners of difficulty, of mechanics, knowledge requirement, cost of failure, and resource availability, I would say that by far the biggest contributor is the knowledge requirement. Now, in the later games, like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, they start pushing mechanics a bit more, but I would still say that the main point of difficulty is the knowledge requirement. And when you're doing int builds, you need to find good sorceries, you need to know what stats to level up, and then there's like dexterity, which increases your casting speed. I don't know if it does it in Elden Ring, but I'm pretty sure it does it in the Dark Souls games, and it might do it here as well, but the game doesn't really tell you that. And so that's a piece of knowledge that you don't need, but is useful. Oh, okay. But yeah, it's like, where are the good spells? What are the good spells? What stats do I level up? How much do I level up those stats? Where do I stop? Where are the spell NPCs? There's a lot of knowledge that you really need for any kind of magic build, and that just increases the knowledge requirement even more. And I'm not too concerned with these guys, because they're just base game bosses. But on top of that, you also, like I said, it's not as much as a difficulty point, but resource availability, it's more difficult for int builds, because not only do you have to level up health, endurance, and whatever your primary damage stat is of strength or dex, but you also need to level up mind and intelligence or faith. And then probably dexterity as well for the casting speed. So you go from 3 stats on a melee build to health, mind, endurance, dex, and either interfaith. So that's, you go from 3 to 5. So you need more runes to cover more stats. And on top of that, you probably need FP flasks to get FP back, which means that you have less healing. So you also have a limited amount of casts because of the FP. Whereas with a melee weapon, you can just swing all you want. The only thing that stops you is durability, which Elden Ring doesn't have durability, so there's that problem fixed. So I would say that starting with an int build or any kind of magic build, if you're struggling, especially if you're new, is probably just going to make things harder. Nope. And if you already have a knowledge base on the game and you're still struggling, but you know what the good spells are, you know where the good spells are, you know where the spell NPCs are, you know what stats to level up. If you have that knowledge, then yeah, sure. Magic builds will probably help at that point, but if you're new, probably not good to go into any kind of caster build. With the exception, the one singular exception, I would say, of Dark Souls 3 doing a hybrid melee and pyromancy build. And I'd say int and faith probably shouldn't go above like 25. But using like fireball, fire orb, Karthus, I forget what it's called. Karthus Flame Arc, I think. The one that applies fire damage to your weapon. Because that way you can have a little damage buff. You can have a few serviceable range spells. And a lot of things in Dark Souls 3. Especially enemies that you may struggle against as a melee build, get absolutely bodied by fire damage. Like the Flesh of Aldrich. The little like clumps of flesh on the ground. Fire damage very good against those guys. And like the Deep Accursed, fire damage is good against them as well. Or at least range spells, so that way you don't have to melee them and deal with their curse buildup.
Why, you poor thing. Another bad dream, Yuri. Put that rotten thing out of your mind. That tangled mess can't hurt you.
Ah, who have we here? Count Ymir seemed very pleased, and for that, I express my gratitude. I am Jolan, loyal to Count Ymir. The night is yours now to wield. Ymir is a shining star, in our eyes, the only star upon the black canvas of the night. Our meeting with the Count taught us of the star-draped sky. We know that we cannot reach out to touch it, but we can peer up at its brilliance and heed its guidance. We will never again lose our way in the night. I have spoken far too freely. Pay me no mind. Let us focus on our shared purpose, our service to Count Ymir.
Hello there. The exalted timbre of the bells has reached these ears of mine. Twice now? How very exhilarating indeed. The stars are dark tonight. But rest assured, this is no ill omen. On the contrary, I believe that this portends a magnificent starry cascade. Now, take this. My final gift to you. May you join the glimmering stars above. Oh yes. I believe I can feel it brewing. This evening is a sign of a greater night to come. I, too, am a glintstone sorcerer. We study the stars and examine the life therein. Are you familiar with our findings? Long ago, we began as stardust, born of a great rupture far across the skies. We, too, are children of the greater will. Is that not divine? Is that not sublime? And yet, none can fathom its implications. Its utter brilliance. Ah, you met Jolan. Well, I hope that she behaved, at least. The poor girl has overcome grave misfortune. Her tongue can be sharp at the best of times, but don't think that makes her a bad person. It's no surprise her little sister, too, has a heart of gold. I fear that you have borne witness to the whole of it. The conceits, the hypocrisy of the world built upon the Earth Tree. The follies of men. Their bitter suffering. Is there no hope for redemption? The answer, sadly, is clear. There never was any hope. They were each of them defective. Unhinged from the start. Marika herself. And the fingers that guided her. And this is what troubles me. No matter our efforts, if the roots are rotten, then we have little recourse. Ever young Mikola saw things for what they were. He knew that his bloodline was tainted, his roots mired in madness. A tragedy if ever there was one. That he would feel compelled to renounce everything, when the blame lay squarely with the mother. Do you recall what I said? That Marika and the fingers that guided her were unsound from the start? Well, the truth lies deeper still. It is their mother who is damaged and unhinged. The fingers are but unripe children, victims in their own right. We all need a mother, do we not? A new mother. A true mother who will not give birth to further malady. May you join the glimmering stars above.
Okay. So, you might be wondering, well, if int builds, which are supposedly the best for if you're struggling, if those are actually bad, then what should I go with? And this is where the propaganda comes in. Because I'm here to tell you, greatswords. Because greatswords are, in my opinion, the best weapon class. They have good damage, good speed, good range, good weight. Just everything about them is good. And some people say that greatswords are a jack of all trades, master of none. And they say that as if it's a bad thing. But I'm here to tell you that that's actually a good thing. For two reasons. One, versatility. Oh, that was good damage. Oh, you'll love to see it. Y'all love to see it. Alright. Then we can do this to get that FP back. But the first reason that's actually a good thing is because Jack of all trades means versatility. And you go up against a very wide range of enemies in these games. I mean, there was a guy riding a boar, there was a giant sunflower, there's a knight wielding twin ultra greatswords, there's a knight on horseback, there are misbegotten, I don't even know what you'd call them, they're like bipedal lion warriors with swords. There's all sorts of crazy things you see in these games that you're expected to kill. And so, Jack of all trades means versatility. The versatility to be good against all of those different enemies. And the second reason that's a good thing is the Master of None. And you might think, well, Master of None, how could Master of None possibly be a good thing? And I'll ask you a simple question. What's the fastest weapon class? Very simple. Just what's the fastest weapon class? And you'll probably think, daggers. And sure, daggers probably are the fastest weapon class. However, bad range, bad damage, bad poise damage. So, yeah, sure, they're the best in this one thing of speed, but they have a ton of very significant drawbacks. And then I ask you, what's the best in terms of damage? And you might say colossal swords or colossal weapons, and probably. But even though they're the best in that, they have very high weight, they have very high requirements, they're very slow, they take a lot of stamina. Like, they're the best in this one thing, but there's so many drawbacks that come with that. Whereas the great swords, Master of None, yeah, sure, they're not the best in anything, but they're also not the worst in anything. Far from it. And that just leads further into the versatility of, yeah, sure, they don't have the high highs of daggers being super fast, but they don't have the super low lows. And sure, you don't have the range and the damage and the poise damage of some other weapon classes, but you also don't have the slow speed, high stamina cost, super high weight of those. Like 18 to 9.5. Massive weight difference. So I would say that if you're new to a FromSoft game and you're struggling, go with a greatsword. Just crank health, crank stamina, and crank strength. And just use a greatsword. And another reason greatswords are really good is because they're really good at breaking shields. Because you think about Dark Souls 3, there are these Lothric knights with pikes and great shields, and a lot of people say, oh man, the spear Lothric knights, the bane of my existence, they're super terrible. And you'll watch them and their weapon will just bounce right off their shield, but not greatswords. Greatswords basically trivialize that enemy because you just smack their shield 2 to 3 times and their shield breaks and then you get a free critical and you can kill them very easily before they get a single attack off. But if you try sorceries, you have to shoot them several times where they they take very little damage, and then by the time their guard breaks, you're probably out of stamina, and so you can't follow up with any sorceries that would actually hit them instead of the shield. But you don't have that problem when dealing with greatswords. So, yeah, instead of int builds, instead of sorceries, instead of magic of any type, I say go with greatswords if you're new and struggling, because they have such a low knowledge requirement. Oh. And ow. But it's just very easy. I didn't realize that exploded. Please, it's been so long since I fought you. It's been 4 months since the last time I recorded. Oh. That was kind of strange. I forgot you do that 3 times. Whoa. Please. Mama. Please. Mercy, I beg of you. That was easy. This, however, probably won't be. Oh, wow, that goes really far. I might die here. Yep. I rolled slightly too late. That's okay, though. I definitely could have prepared better for that. And I mistimed a lot of dodges, because it's been a while. But yeah, great swords, definitely the way to go if you're new and struggling. Because very low knowledge requirement, very easy, very strong, a lot less resource management, a lot less resources needed, a lot less knowledge needed. Just in general, very good. Though, something else I would suggest, if you're new and struggling, is to focus on having as little damage as possible. Which might sound weird, but the faster you kill the thing, the less time you have to learn the thing. And so I'd say focus on defense rather than offense. Oh, thank you, Moon, for defending me. I thought you only did it once in phase 1. Oh. Wait. Focus on having focus on health and defense. When you're new. And that's why I'm going to say for Nightreign, we've seen 4 different builds, whatever you want to call them. Oh! Well, we've seen 4 so far. Oh, okay. Wilder, which is like a great sword wielder. And it seems like the main basic build. Rude. Okay, but Wilder, the main greatsword wielding, just like basic character. And then you got Guardian, which has the great shield. Duchess, which is probably the one I'm gonna go with, which is like a dagger wielding, kind of Bloodborne style character. And then the Recluse, which has my favorite aesthetic of the 4. But then there's another 4 that we haven't seen yet. But I would say going into Nightreign, you should probably go with Guardian first, because they're the most defensive one. And so, especially if you haven't played base Elden Ring, I would definitely say go with Guardian first, because they're focused on defense. And so that would give you more time surviving and more time with the enemy being alive. And that would give you more time to learn the enemy's attacks and how to deal with them. So, yeah.
What have you done? You've wounded Count Ymir most irreparably, such that he wishes for your death. And I must attend to the Count's concerns. Oh, my dear star, a fine mother, you will be.
My shining star, grant me a mother's strength. Look here, at my fingers. I will be the true mother. And I will be the only mother.
Haha. For some reason, my stomach is growling. I'm not sure why, considering I ate like an hour ago. Whoa. Ooh. Yeah, the moon has been eating a few of those sorceries.
Forgive me, Yuri. Truly, I desired to be your mother.
Anyways, I'm sorry if you can hear my stomach growling. I am not hungry. I ate a big plate of food like an hour and a half ago. So I really don't know why it's growling, but oh well. Yeah, remember, you can swap characters at any time in Nightreign, so I'd suggest going with Guardian just for the first few runs, just so you can figure out the enemies, and then go between each character a few different times just to see which ones you like. And then you can go with your main one, whichever one you like the most. And if you want to hang out with me, play when it comes out. I'm not incredible at these games, but I would say I'm reliable. I'll go with that. I mean, as you can tell, I mean, I haven't played this game in nearly 4 months, but I'm also very not used to sorcery builds. I tend to go with great swords. Like straight swords, light great swords, katanas. Not really axes or hammers, but some great axes, sometimes halberds. I try to get a good variety of things, but I like to go things that can... I like to go with weapons that can break a shield pretty easily, but aren't too slow. And great swords are perfect for that. Although, I won't be going with Wilder. I've heard that's the most popular one. Like I said, I'll probably, just out of the 4 we know so far, I'll probably be going with Duchess, the one that wields a dagger, or maybe Recluse, just because I like their dodges better. And also Duchess with the... I don't know what it's called, but the one that creates like a ghost form of the enemy, so they take extra damage. Very good. So, if you wanna... It's like, if you're struggling to find a third person, I'm here, and I'll be playing that a lot when it comes out. And even though I'll mainly be going with probably the Duchess, I think all 4 characters look a lot of fun, and I like to focus on variety and being able to run with just about anything. So I can run any of the characters. But with that being said, also, if you want me as a teammate, you can just comment down below. Ask me. I might put my Discord profile in the description. We'll see. But anyways, Jolan.
Count Ymir, the stars, the sky. I see them not. Oh, it blinds, as if our night simply never was.
If you gave her the Iris of Occultation, she has a different dialogue, and you get her weapon, which is, I believe, a pure dexterity katana with a unique skill. It's kind of like Waterfowl Dance, but not nearly as powerful. And also Cherishing Fingers. And then we can head off to Hinterland. But I'm very curious as to what the other 4 are going to be. Me and a few friends have been passing around ideas. And we're pretty... I say with the utmost confidence in my voice, but we're pretty confident that there's going to be an archer class. Partially because out of the 4 classes we've seen so far, only one has been a ranged build. And in the other Dark Souls games, there's pretty much always... I don't want to say always because I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's usually a starting class with a bow, or feels like it should have a bow at least. And here on the map, you can head down here. But also because there was a thing, I don't remember where I heard it. But I've heard... Uh-oh. Shouldn't have done that drop on the horse. Because Torrent does not do good maneuverability. So that's on me, I should have known better. But I heard somewhere that bows have infinite arrows in Nightreign. And that's to keep up with the faster gameplay loop. Because... and also limited inventory space. Because, like, why would you pick up a bow if you can't use it unless you find arrows? That'd be stupid. So bows have infinite arrows. And if bows have infinite arrows, then it would make sense to have an archer starting class. So me and a few friends that have been talking about it are pretty confident, but not too confident that there's going to be an archer starting class. Drop. Yeah, way better on foot. And then here you can turn Jolan into Anna or Anna and Jolan, which it goes from 86 to 144, so the FP cost goes up significantly. But you can also remove Anna, Anna, whatever you want to call them. So there's that. And then bell bearing for Rabbit's Great Bolts, which are just a magic Great Bolt, along with a Rabbit's Cannon. And then from here you can just make your way down. This is Rabbit's Rise, near the Church District High Road. Though, if you don't want to wait all that time to get the cannon, there's that. So, you can do that. And we can... We can go through some NPC dialogue. We can go left to right, because why not? This can be the part of NPC dialogue and lore. Just because we've got like 10 minutes, so why not? Where the... Alright, I don't know where Ansbach went, but we got more here.
I don't feel it. It's broken. Kind Miquella's light is gone. But I stand tall. Together, we work. Together. For Miquella the Kind. I don't know what to do. Our mother abandoned her brood. She did not love us. We are her children. What should we do? Must we be sad forever? Maybe that's kindly Miquella's love. Love for all the unloved. Love to banish the pain. Goodbye.
Saying what we said is good for positivity, but if you say stay sad forever, then he doesn't show up in a fight later on. Which is... It makes things easier, but it's also sad. Because more. I think that Ansbach and Freya vanish because their next location is in Shadowkeep, and we went into Shadowkeep through the Church District entrance. So I think that they're gone because of that. Like, because we entered the Shadowkeep. So we didn't break anything, we just missed some dialogue. But that's okay. We'll live.
Oh, are you not affected? Even with the spell broken, I'm feeling rather lost. Haunted by memories of St. Trina. Her visage. Her sen. The lure of velvety sleep. Would kindly Miquella chasten me for falling for St. Trina, while knowing that she was the discarded half? The problem is, I simply cannot help it. I would sacrifice everything just to gaze upon her one last time.
Oh, hello. Did you feel it? Miquella the Kind's enchantment appears to have broken. But while my devotion to kindly Miquella remains unchanged, by my troth I am not so sure about the others. No, wait. Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. I can wield my sword to cull the undeserving, those unfit to bask in tender Miquella's presence. I should have thought of this earlier. Right. It's time to begin ferreting out those of us who don't deserve to be at kindly Miquella's side. The horn scent. On one hand, he trusts Miquella the Kind to bring salvation to his people. With the enchantment lifted, his vengeful passions may once again ignite. But surely he'd be mindful of kindly Miquella's promise. On the other hand, the horn scent does present his own dangers. Perhaps your concerns are well-founded after all. Allow me some time to mull it over. Allow me some time to mull it over.
Intriguing. What remains there to be said? Do you presume us allies even now? Though Miquella's spell is newly broken, I must profess, the spell mattered little. Uphold his covenant, Miquella shall, and in godhood redeem our rueful clan. Then Marika and vilest Erdtree both will at last be from divinity wrenched. And surely, contented I will be. But first, clear resounds the call of vengeance. The Impaler, Mesmer must pay his due. In vengeance for the flames. My blade I wield. How could I allow myself to forget? Revenge alone assures me peace of mind. Think not to hinder me upon my path, lest you too wish to face the reckoning.
Not sure if he knows this, but America's already dead. I throw a moon at her. But I do really like how Letta's just borderline unfazed by all this. She's just like, yeah, straight to business. Let's focus on the practical aspects that we can affect. And if we can't affect something, don't worry about it. Focus on what you can focus on. Positive mindset. From a serial killer.
Ah, there you are. It took me long enough, I know. But I've made my decision. I believe it wisest to eliminate the horn scent. If he were to point his blade at Sir Mesmer or Queen Marika, perhaps it would not matter. But vengeance changes a man. And one day, his blade may turn towards Miquella the Kind. Kindly Miquella is, after all, the true golden child. Even if he discards every last drop of his being, his lineage will always remain. I believe the Hornsent suspects what I have in mind. He never placed his full trust in me, even under the effect of kindly Miquella's spell. He must have recognized something. The scent of the killer that slept within me, the stench of crusted blood. I will follow the Hornsent. To have his revenge on Sir Mesmer, there is only one place he will go. The Black Keep.
So quickly before we end this, when I was sick and couldn't record, I played through the DLC like right at the beginning once or twice just to keep my skills up. And the latest I saw the horn scent was actually part of the Letta fight. Like, he joined her in the Letta fight, if I remember correctly, which was crazy. Because I didn't even know that was possible up until that point, and it really threw me for a loop. But after playing through, like, once or twice, I ran out of characters that were already at the Mogwin Dynasty Mausoleum that I wasn't going to use for recordings. So I moved on to Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne. I played those for the last 3.5 months. But with that being said, I think we can end it here. We went through the Finger Runes of Rhia, the Finger Runes of Dio, and the Cathedral of Menace Metyr, doing that entire quest line along with the Mother of Fingers boss. For items, we got the Whole Laden Necklace, which is a key item. We got Miriam's Vanishing. We got the Crimson Seed Talisman +1, the Cerulean Seed Talisman +1, Beloved Stardust, which is not worth it, in my opinion. We got the Glintstone Nail and Glintstone Nails sorceries, along with Fleeting Microcosm, which I'll probably show these off at some point in the run, hopefully, if I remember. But we also got the Claws of Night, which are the best claw weapon in the game. We got Remembrance of the Mother of Fingers, the Maternal Staff, along with the High Priest set, along with the Cherishing Fingers sorcery, Jolan and Anna, the Golden Braid, and Rebus Cannon. And with that being said, yeah.